Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story in which endless spam contractors keep calling the wrong number until the fed-up OP flips the script. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Spam contractor calls wouldn't stop, so I gave them the wildest goose chase I could. For over a year now, I've been getting the same annoying calls from contractors. It always starts the same. They ask for someone who isn't me, using a name I don't recognize, and then confirm an address I've never lived at. They usually jump right into their pitch, asking if I want solar panels, new windows, landscaping, driveway sealing, or whatever else they're pushing that week. At first, I tried to be polite. I'd say, sorry, you've got the wrong number. I'm not that person, and I don't own property. I'd ask to be put on a do not call list. Sometimes they'd hang up on me the second I started talking. Sometimes they'd argue, insisting I must be the person they're asking for because you gave us this number. Once or twice, they got rude and told me to just deal with it. For a long time, I just hung up without a word. The calls always started with a little beeping tone when I picked up. I learned that tone meant it was them before they even said hello. I could always tell. And still they kept calling. Weekdays, weekends, different numbers, different voices, same script over and over. So after a year of this nonsense, I decided to stop playing defense. Now when they call and ask if I'm John or Steve or whatever name they pulled from the database, I say, yep, that's me. When they ask if I still live at 1234 Main Street, I respond with sure do. And when they ask if I'm interested in getting solar panels or redoing my lawn or painting my house, I say, I'd love that. Been meaning to get that done for ages. They get excited. They schedule a consultation. They say a representative will come out to my property that afternoon. What time works best for you, they ask. Oh, let's say 5 o'clock, I say cheerfully, right in the heart of rush hour. Then I go about my day. Inevitably, I get a call around 5:10. Hey, we're here at the property, but no one's answering. We've been waiting 10 minutes already. Oh, sorry about that, I say with fake concern. I had to run to the store real quick. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Just hang tight. They never call again after that. At least that contractor doesn't. But there's always another one a few days later, so I do it again. Same name, same address, same fake appointment during the worst possible traffic window. It's the smallest bit of revenge, but let me tell you, it's incredibly satisfying. After months of being ignored, dismissed, and talked over, it feels good to waste their time for a change. To imagine them standing outside some random house staring at the door, wondering if they've been scammed, and yes, they have. I know they'll keep calling. The lists they pull from are outdated and recycled, but I'm ready. I've got all the details memorized, and I'm happy to own that house for as long as it takes to return the inconvenience. So to all the unsolicited contractors out there, I hope you enjoyed your drive across town. I hope you love circling the block looking for parking. And I hope the family who actually lives at 1234 Main Street enjoys the confusion on your face when no one answers the door. Because for every annoying spam call I've had to endure, I'll gladly give you a wild goose chase in return. You're still not here. It's been half an hour, and I'll never be there. You guys ready to grow TF up and stop calling the wrong number? Or should I just waste all your time every time you screw it up and don't take me off the list like I told you to? And our second story. They panicked when I forgot to return my keys. Cost them thousands and endless overtime. This happened many, many years ago, back when I was in middle management at a big box retailer. You know the kind, endless fluorescent lighting, endless corporate red tape, and just enough chaos to keep things interesting. I oversaw several departments, and while not officially an assistant store manager, ASM, I was what they called a key-carrying manager. Translation, I was responsible for a whole lot more than I was being paid or trained for. Basically, I had all the responsibilities of upper management without the pay or the title. If the store needed to be opened, I had the keys. If someone had to stay late to close, that was me too. Morning safe counts, nightly cash tallies, covering for missing ASMs. Yep, me again. I'd be put in charge anytime it was convenient for someone higher up to pass the buck. After a few months of this quasi-management role, I approached leadership about a promotion or at the very least returning the keys if there wasn't going to be one. I figured if I'm doing ASM work, I should be compensated like one. The answer? Let's talk about it soon, which in corporate speak is the professional equivalent of LOL, no. Flash forward 3 or 4 months. One day, an ASM had a family emergency and needed to leave early. I was the only manager on duty, and they asked if I could close the store. Of course, I said yes. I'd done it a dozen times before. That night, I went through the entire routine without a hitch. All the doors locked, registers counted, safe tallied, alarm set. Just another smooth close. Or so I thought. 2 days later, I got called into the loss prevention office. They asked about the safe count from that night. I told them what I remembered. It had all checked out by the book, but apparently the count was off by $250. LP asked me if I had followed procedure when accessing the cash office. I said yes, and that I'd done this multiple times with the store manager's full knowledge. Cue the corporate twist. I wasn't technically authorized to do the nightly count, despite having the keys, the codes, and explicit approval from leadership. I wasn't trained and signed off to handle cash office responsibilities. They didn't care that I'd been doing it for months. Rules are rules, they said. The store manager and the assistant manager were slapped with write-ups for letting me perform tasks outside of my pay grade. And me, I was fired for violating policy. I was livid. Not just because I was being punished for doing a job they asked me to do, but because they didn't even have the decency to own up to the system they created. When they fired me, they hustled me straight to the break room, had me clean out my locker, and ushered me out the door like I was a shoplifter. I went home frustrated, demoralized, and still holding the full ring of store keys. That's when the petty part of this story begins. See, in their rush to get me out of the building, they forgot one key detail, literally. They never collected the keys or access codes from me, and I didn't exactly remind them. Days passed, a week, then the phone call started. Hey, we just realized you still have the store keys. Can you drop them off? I gave them the calmest, most corporate-approved lie I could muster. Oh, I left those on store manager's desk before I left. Not sure why you didn't find them. They panicked hard. Turns out they never found the keys. That led to an all-out scramble because of protocol. They had to rekey every exterior and interior door in the building. That meant locksmiths, replacement key cards, new cylinder locks everywhere. Plus, they had to reset all the security system codes and access permissions. And guess what? That also meant every manager had to come in after hours to be reissued their keys and trained on the new alarm code system. And the cherry on top? All of this went straight to the regional budget under loss prevention emergency procedures. Did I cost them a ton of time, money, and hassle? You bet I did. Did I intentionally do anything wrong? Nope. They fired me before collecting company property, and I simply forgot to remind them. I didn't even need to seek revenge. All I had to do was let their own incompetence play out. Watching that store trip over itself trying to patch a problem they created was one of the most satisfying slow burns I've ever witnessed. To this day, I still have that old key ring. Of course, the keys don't work anymore, but I keep them as a little memento. A rusty, jingling reminder that sometimes karma just needs a little nudge. And our last story. Park in my driveway? Enjoy being stuck for 2 weeks, Karen. Let me paint the picture. I live in a house with a small driveway, tight enough that bushes hug it on both sides. It's right across the street from a major city park that turns into utter chaos on the 4th of July. Like people walking a mile for parking kind of chaos. I'd been out of town visiting family for the holiday weekend and got back home that night around 10 p.m., just as fireworks were winding down. Except when I pulled up, I saw her, Karen. Well, her car at least. A shiny gray rental sedan, complete with one of those barcode stickers on the windshield. It was sitting dead center in my driveway. No note, no explanation, just parked there like it's her own house. I was exhausted, slightly sunburned, and in no mood for this, so I calmly parked my dusty, rarely used second car right behind her, completely blocking her in. Then I went inside and cracked a cold drink. Not 10 minutes later, knock, 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 knock. I opened the door to find the human embodiment of entitlement. Karen, you need to move your car this instant. I'm visiting family and I need my car. Me, you parked in my driveway without permission. That's not my problem. Karen, I couldn't find parking. You weren't using it, so what's the big deal? Just let me out. Me shuts the door without another word. She called the cops. Guess what the police said when they showed up? but I was well within my rights to park my own car in my own driveway. They even said, and I quote, "It's a civil matter at best, but technically she's trespassing." Karen looked like she swallowed a lemon. She ended up getting picked up by one of her relatives and flounced off into the night with a loud, "I'll have my lawyer on this tomorrow morning." Cool, can't wait. The next morning, 8 a.m. on the dot, she was back, banging on my door. "Karen, I need my car. The kids needed to go places, and they're going to be so sad. You're ruining our vacation." Me, "Nope, you can wait, just like you made me wait when I got home last night." She screamed something about cruelty and what kind of psychopath blocks people in, then stormed off. But not before I heard her mutter something about it being a rental car and how it had to be returned soon. Oops. So I left it for 2 weeks. Every day like clockwork, she came by, sometimes yelling, sometimes fake crying, sometimes trying to sweet-talk me with, "Look, I made a mistake, but don't you think you're taking this a little far? No, Karen, you parked in a stranger's driveway in a major city and expected zero consequences. You messed around, now you're finding out." Apparently, her family got sick of her too, because around day 7, she showed up looking disheveled and muttered something about having to get a hotel. I smiled and said, "Should have thought about that before you parked in my driveway." On day 15, I finally moved my car, but instead of letting her drive off into the sunset, I called a tow company and had her car impounded. Let her deal with that one too. And the final cherry on top, 2 months later, I got a letter from Karen, a literal printed letter demanding compensation for the hotel bill because her family kicked her out, the impound fee, late rental return fees, and I kid you not, meals at the most highly rated restaurants in town because she was emotionally distressed. The total, $5,086.42. I laughed, I binned the letter, haven't heard from her since. Let this be a lesson, Karen. Don't park in a stranger's driveway, especially not mine. The real reason is not don't park in a stranger's driveway, but don't be a first-class jerk when you park in a stranger's driveway. If she'd been contrite, things might have been different. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.